Nos encanta lucir nuestras prendas.
Nos encanta salir a la calle y vestir algo que nos represente, que nos haga sentir bien.
Nos encanta ver la prenda que queremos a mitad de precio.
Nos encanta perdernos en busca de la prenda perfecta.
Nos encanta comprar sin movernos de casa.
Nos encanta adquirir una prenda por el mismo precio que un café.
Nos encanta vestir diferentes colores.
Nos encanta estrenar zapatos nuevos.
Nos encanta sentir la suavidad del algodón.
Pero no solo vestimos prendas.
El balance de la peor catástrofe industrial de la historia de Bangladesh.
En primeros días de drama bajo los escombros de la fábrica derrumbada en
Bangladesh,
salieron a la luz entre los escombros cadáveres en las lagunas.
Protestan por la superación hasta ahora de las fábricas textiles de Bangladesh después de la peor tragedia industrial.
When the walls of the factory trembled around her. She was eventually dragged from the rubble, along with more than 2,000 mostly garment workers. 1,137 people didn't survive when the 9-story building collapsed.
Recoged eso. Ese cesto. Quita. ¿Qué te pasa? Recoge eso. ¿A qué esperas? Venga a recoger. Si no puedes trabajar aquí estás de más. Venga, largo. ¿No has oído? He dicho que te largues. ¡Fuera!
Yo no tengo autoridad para enterrarla. Y necesito mi carro. Tengo que trabajar.
¿Qué le ha pasado?
Ha muerto de frío, padre. Tóquela. Todos los días pasa lo mismo. Los granjeros encuentran los cadáveres y los traen aquí en vez de enterrarlos.
¿La conoce alguien?
Todo el mundo la conoce, padre. Trabajaba en la fábrica.
Señor presidente, ¿lo ha leído?
Sí, querido amigo, estoy al corriente. Tranquilícense, pienso meter en vereda a ese impresor.
Este artículo es una locura. La ciudad de Als cada día es más peligrosa.
Exacto. Nos insultan, nos roban y acosan a nuestras mujeres en la calle.
Pandillas de indigentes aterrorizan los campos y este periódico...
Tampoco hay que exagerar, Drift.
¿Le parece que exagero?
Vamos, señores, no perdamos el tiempo. Drift, ya le he dicho que solucionaré el problema del periódico. Es cierto que hay que hacer un esfuerzo para recordar a los obreros que respeten a quienes les alimentan y devolverles al buen camino.
Eso es competencia de la Iglesia.
No, señor Valenkelov, también es suya. Un empresario es responsable del alma de sus obreros.
Se ve que no tiene usted relación con los obreros, señor Gust. A ellos les preocupa. Lo mismo que a nosotros, los directores. ¿Cuántas fábricas de ALS sobrevivirán a la crisis? Es muy sencillo. Si el gobierno no concede subvenciones, tendré que cerrar.
Exacto.
No habrá subvenciones.
¿Cómo? Pero usted prometió...
Lo he discutido con mis colegas del gobierno. Son reacios a una intervención estatal. Según ellos, las industrias belgas deben imitar las inglesas. Reducción máxima de los costes de fabricación para tener precios competitivos.
¿Pero cómo? ¿Reduciendo aún más los salarios? Es imposible.
Sí es posible. Esta es la prueba. Yo les pago 1,60 franco por 14 horas de trabajo y Kumon 2 francos por 11 horas. Y se queja de que va a arruinarse. No, señores. Si todos imponemos el mismo salario, aceptarán hasta 1,40 franco por 14 horas de trabajo.
¿1,40 franco con el kilo de pan a 60 céntimos y el saco de carbón a 1,50? Para eso más vale pagarles en patatas como nuestros abuelos.
No sería ninguna tontería. El dinero se lo beben.
No tendrán para vivir.
No vivirán. Si las fábricas cierran.
Señores, por favor. El verdadero problema no es la pobreza.
Estoy totalmente de acuerdo, señor presidente.
Señores, creo que en este momento sería muy peligroso rebajar los salarios. Están muy descontentos.
Entonces, copiemos el sistema escocés. 3 obreros cada 4 máquinas.
Y si contratamos a obreras en vez de a obreros, duplicaremos beneficios.
Oiga, supongo que no lo dirá en serio.
A mí, por el contrario, me parece muy interesante.
Si lo hacen los escoceses, ¿por qué nosotros no?
Por supuesto.
3 obreras cada 4 máquinas. 12, 13, 14 horas por noche, ¿eso dicen? ¿Qué ocurre? ¿No tienen suficientes accidentes en sus fábricas? ¿Cuántos muertos has tenido este año, Eugene? Y tú, Adelán. ¿Y ustedes?
Evitemos la demagogia. Señor Kumon, por favor, en todas las guerras hay víctimas.
Son unos monstruos. Todos.
No, se lo ruego, no se marche. Vuelva. A los liberales nos preocupa la situación de nuestros obreros, señor Guts. Gente que vive en la miseria más absoluta. Y si el gobierno no quiere subvencionarlos, ALS perderá sus industrias y usted sus elecciones.
¿Qué es lo que Solo las mujeres y los niños. Tú, apártate. Sí, tú. Pues que apartes, te he dicho. Vamos, ¿qué pasará a los niños? Ven aquí. Llévate estas 2 a las 6 y les enseñas el funcionamiento de la máquina. A partir de hoy trabajarás en el 5. Venga, andando.
Sí, pero...
¡Vamos! El resto a las máquinas. Venga. ¡A las máquinas!
Podéis colgar la chaqueta ahí. Cogéis un hilo y hacéis esto. Cuidado con los dedos cuando se pare la máquina.
Venga. Se te va a enganchar el pelo. Es muy peligroso.
Se lo ruego, déjeme, por favor.
No tengas miedo. No soy tan fiero como me pintan.
Déjeme en paz.
Apartaos, dejadme pasar.
Ha muerto.
This is the office of the National Labor Committee here in the garment area of New York City. It's a little bit disheveled. These are all from different campaigns. To make this stuff concrete as possible, we purchase all of the products from the factories that we're talking about. This shirt sells for $14.99, and the women who made the shirt got paid 3 cents. Liz Claiborne jackets made in El Salvador. The jackets are $178, and the workers were paid 74 cents for every jacket they made. Alpine Costellos, 31 cents an hour. It's not just sneakers, it's not just apparel, it's everything. We were in Honduras, and some workers, they knew the kind of work we did, and they approached us, these young workers, and they said, conditions in our factory are horrible. Will you please meet with us? And we said we would, but you can't meet in the developing world. You can't walk up to a factory with your notebook and workers come out, you interview them. I mean, there's goons, there's spies, the military police. So you do everything in a clandestine manner. We're about to start the meeting, and in walk 3 guys. Very tough-looking guys. The company had found out about a meeting and sent these spies. Obviously, we didn't have the meeting. But these young girls were really bright. And as they were leaving, away from the eyesight of the spies, they started to put their hands underneath the table. And I put my palm under there, put my hand under there, and they put into my hand their pay stubs. So we'd know who they were, what they were paid, and the labels that they made in the factory, so we'd know who they worked for. And I took my hand out after everyone had left, and in the palm of my hand was the face of Kathy Lee Gifford. But the bottom of it is the interesting part. A portion of the proceeds from the sale of this garment will be donated to various children's charities. It's very touching. Get you right here. Walmart is telling you if you purchase these pants, and Kathy Lee is telling you purchase these pants, you're going to help children. The problem was the people who handed us the label were 13 years of age. Do many people in her family work?
Yes, just me.
You support, how many people do you support?
8 people.
8 people. And how do you do with that salary? Is it enough?
¿Alcanza? ¿Es suficiente para cuidar 8 meses?
Let's look at it from a different point of view. Let's look at it from the point of view of the people in Bangladesh who are starving to death, the people in China who are starving to death, and the only thing that they have to offer to anybody that is worth anything is their low-cost labor. And in effect, what they are saying to the world is they have this big flag that says, come over and hire us. We will work for 10 cents an hour because 10 cents an hour will buy us the rice that we need not to starve. And come and rescue us from our circumstance. And so when Nike comes in, they are regarded by everybody in the community as an enormous godsend.
Give him the
You cannot have any authorization to be here.
The door was wide open.
No.
That's my clothes. Those are my clothes.
No, this is not your clothes. Where's your camera?
Let's look. Don't touch the woman.
Okay, why?
Okay?
This is a private company.
Yes.
Without permission, how can you come in?
Well, the door was wide open, and
the only wide open is for the employees, not for you.
We went through the garbage dump in the Dominican Republic. We always do this kind of stuff. We dig around. One day, we found a big pile of Nike's internal pricing documents. Nike assigns a time frame to each operation. They don't talk about minutes. They break the time frame into 10,000ths of a second. You get to the bottom of all 22 operations to give the workers 6.6 minutes to make the shirt. It's 70 cents an hour in the Dominican Republic. That 6.6 minutes equals 8 cents. These are Nike's documents. That means the wages come to 0.3% of the retail price. This is the reality. It's the science of exploitation.
Well, the whole idea of the export processing zone is that it will be the first step towards this wonderful new development. Through the investment that's attracted to these countries, there will be a trickle-down effect into the communities. But because so many countries are now in the game of creating these free trade enclaves, they have to keep providing more and more incentives for companies to come to their little denationalized pocket, and that the tax holidays get longer. So the workers rarely make enough money to buy 3 meals a day, let alone feed their local economy.
Sleeping in a motel in Brewer, Maine one night,
I woke up with terrible hay fever and my eyes were burning, and I looked out of the river and there were great mounds of white foam going right down the river. And the next morning I got up and I said, my God, what was that happening last night? He said, oh, that's just the river. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, look, every night the paper companies send the stuff down the river. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, don't you understand? That's how we get rid of the effluent from the paper mills. Well, I knew at that time. I'd been in a business. I'd sold oil to the paper mills. I knew all the owners. I'd been in politics. I knew the people in the towns. I knew not one constituent of the paper mills wanted to have the river polluted. And yet here the river was being polluted. And it was more or less as if we created a doom machine. In our search for wealth and for prosperity, we created something that's going to destroy us.
The traders who are involved in the market are not guys whose moral fiber when it comes to environmental conditions are going to be rattled at all. They're seeing dollars and they're making money. Brokers don't stay away from copper because it violates their religious beliefs or their environmental policies. No. When you think about it, but it's fleeting. It really is a fleeting moment. It's like, you know, yeah, oh yeah, well, the town's being polluted down there in Peru, but hey, this guy needs to buy some copper. And getting paid a commission too. Our information that we receive does not include anything about the environmental conditions. Because until the environmental conditions become a commodity themselves or are being traded, then obviously we will not have anything to do with that. It doesn't come into our psyche at all. You know, it's so far away, and you hardly hear anything about it. I mean, keep in mind, I mean, there are things going on right in our backyards, for God's sake. We trade live hogs. I mean, there's so many pigs in the state of Carolina, and it's polluting the rivers, but how often do you find out about that?
At Multinational Monitor, we put together a list of the top corporate criminals of the 1990s. We went back and looked at all of the criminal fines that corporations had paid in the decade. Exxon pled guilty in connection to federal criminal charges with the Valdez spill and paid $125 million in criminal fines. General Electric was guilty of defrauding the federal government and paid $9.5 million in criminal fines. Chevron was guilty of environmental violations and paid $6.5 million in fines. Mitsubishi was guilty of antitrust violations and paid $1.8 million in fines. IBM was guilty of illegal exports and paid $8.5 million. Was guilty of environmental violations. Pfizer, the drug manufacturer, was guilty of antitrust violations and paid $20 million of food and drug regulatory violations. Sears was guilty of financial fraud. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. Unical was guilty of fraud and environmental violations. Korean Airlines paid $5 million. It paid $255 million. Hoffman LaRouche, guilty of an antitrust violation, paid $500 million in criminal fines.
Again and again, we have the problem that whether you obey the law or not is a matter whether it's cost effective. If the chance of getting caught and the penalty are less than it costs to comply, people think of it as being just a business decision.